Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Liu. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction podcast presented by Betway for all your sports betting activities. Hit the QR code that you see here on the screen. Follow the link you see in the description of the episode. Raptors lose tonight. What? Oh no, I have the score flip backwards. Hold on. Raptors did not win tonight, 121 to 115. They actually lost tonight, 121 to 115 against the New York Knicks. This is kind of like a callback to the start of the season when it comes to ethical losses, because this is kind of what that was. The Raptors, were down tough in this game. The Knicks are certainly a better team than what Toronto is right now. But the Raptors were able to fight back and make it pretty close. Like they never took the lead or nothing, but at the same time, they made it a one possession game. As I correct the score here in real time, this game was really all about the bench mob 2.0 and the Raptors' young player, specifically Jamal Shead and Jakob Poeltl. For me, I mean, you also saw a good shift here from the likes of Jonathan Mobo, who has not been featured regularly of late. He's been in the G League. He's been recalled, and we'll see sort of how long he stays up here. Depending on sort of how the trade deadline goes, I'm assuming he probably stays up here for a little longer than that. But this was a glimpse into what the future could look like based on this year's draft class. And we saw it a lot early in the season, especially when the Raptors were really banged up, and Bruce Brown was still recovering from knee surgery, and Kelly Olynyk had a bad back, and Emmanuel quickly was out with a variety of injuries, and so you saw lots of Jamal Shead, you saw lots of Jonathan Mobo. You didn't see as much of a guy like Jakob Poeltl because he himself had the shoulder injuries that he tore his shoulder a couple times, and so it took him a little bit of time to get in, but. The more that we have gotten a chance to see what the Raptors picked out of the 2024 draft class, the likes of Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, Dan Tolzman, their entire scouting staff, it's really exciting. And again, I know the Raptors lost tonight. I don't think anyone, by the way, right now minds a loss. As again, the Raptors need to be prioritizing being in the draft once again. But it should give everyone confidence that they entered last year's draft, before when the season ended, the Raptors had only had the 19th pick because they had conveyed their pick to San Antonio, the 8th pick. That was the Jakob Poeltl trade from 2 seasons before that. But they had the 19th pick, which was from the Pascal Siakam trade. They had gotten the 31st pick, which was from the OG Anunoby trade. They went on, obviously, to flip Jalen McDaniels into Davion Mitchell, and also got Jamal Shead with the 45th pick. But still, you don't expect to go into a draft with the 19, 31, 45 and expect to come out of it with quality. And the Raptors this season have really introduced an exciting young group with the likes of Jakob Poeltl, who was the 19th pick, Jonathan Mobo, the 31st pick, Jamal Shead, the 41st pick. They bought into the draft towards the end too, to get Ulrich Shamshe, who's been doing really well in the G League as well. It's some exciting progress for him. We haven't seen him obviously contribute at the NBA level yet, but for how raw he is, it's actually been nice to see him grow so much in the G League season alone. And then even Jamison Battle, who featured a lot start of the season, has gone down to the G League as well. He's been recalled. I mean, he's probably the best shooter on the Raptors when it comes to sort of consistency. Like, he is a really, really accurate three-point shooter, and we have seen that both in the collegiate level and also this season with the Raptors. But as pertains to this game, the only reason the Raptors were even close, the only reason that they made it so competitive towards the end, is because of the play of Jamal Shead and Jakob Poeltl. And those two guys, for me, were the story tonight. I mean, the Raptors were in tough against the Knicks team that had just beaten the Houston Rockets last night at MSG, a really tough one. Actually, very similar ending to this one, where a young team fights them really hard, tooth and nail, and then Jalen Brunson knocks down some very, very difficult jumpers to show you why he's who he is as in this league, and why the Knicks have named him captain and built the whole thing around him. I mean, he has that ability, and that's what happened. It became like a 1-point game in the last 2 minutes, and he nailed 2 very difficult pull-up jumpers to give the Knicks the edge. The Raptors obviously didn't have that type of shot making on their side, but the Raptors were down pretty big. I mean, at halftime, the Raptors had given up 68 points to the New York Knicks. They got destroyed in that second quarter, 38-17. Their offense really dried up. The Knicks got every offensive rebound. They just pushed the Raptors around. But the second half, the Raptors actually played really well. They made a really, really hard push there. They had a 12-0 run in the fourth quarter, and that was, again, entirely led by their young guys. It was Jamal Shead, in particular, who was awesome tonight, sets a career high for himself with 16 points in 23 minutes off the bench for Jamal Shead. 16 points, 9 assists in 23 minutes while playing great pressure defense as well. I loved the fearlessness that he played with tonight. Even the threes that he missed, they were really good in rhythm threes. He just missed those as well. But the ability to, dart to the rim and use his athleticism to go downhill. I mean, there are a lot of plays by Jamal in that second half that really willed the Raptors back to life. He had a transition three. He threw a hit-ahead pass to Bruce Brown for a layup. He threw a hit-ahead pass to Jonathan Mobo, who caught it over the shoulder and finished and one at the rim. That was really beautiful. He had a hard push in transition where he, dribbled past a bunch of people and then got into the lane and threw a cross-court pass to Gradey for a corner three. That was purely his own vision and his energy to create all of that. He had a breakaway layup after the Raptors got a stop, and he was able to break away for the layup. He drove hard to the rim. He missed it, but the ability for him to get to the rim in the first place created a putback opportunity, and Kelly was able to go and follow that up with a layup. He made a nice swing pass to Gradey Dick for a three. He drove, split the lane against two defenders, and was able to finish at the basket once again. Then he had a lob to Jonathan Mobo for an alley-oop dunk. This is while the Knicks had actually stopped the Raptors' initial run. But Jamal kept that momentum going by finding Mobo with a quick pass over the top. And then very similarly, he found Scotty over the top with a quick pass. And Scotty probably could have gotten the layup just by himself, but instead he tried to go in for an and one and draw a little bit of contact. Honestly, he nearly made the and one anyway, and he made the both free throws, so it's no different here. My point is, Jamal made like 10 great plays in the second half alone to push the Raptors, who again were down big at halftime. They were down like 20 at halftime, or they're down 15 at halftime. And it was just like a matter of, can the Raptors even get back into this game? Because they were getting pushed around. They were getting bullied at halftime, and it was not looking good at all for the Raps. But Jamal pushed them over the edge, and nearly, again, it was a 1-point game in the last minute. Nearly got them back in a position where they could have stolen this one that they really had no business stealing a game like that. On the flip side, I thought Jakob Poeltl was probably, for me, the second most impressive player in this game. Jakob Poeltl tonight goes for 13 points in 29 minutes, shoots 5 of 7 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, 2 steals for the rookie. I mean, with Jakobi, he's a little bit smoother. He is, a little bit more of a scorer. Obviously, Jamal is a point guard. It's nice that he has the athleticism and the bounce to get to the rim. That's all nice. I think he plays with this energy, and that's infectious too. Jamal, has those typical leadership qualities, even just what the style that he plays with. It's almost Kyle-esque, the way that he's able to just sort of like come alive for small periods at a time and just completely shift the momentum of a game. That was always Kyle's thing. When you watch Kyle, you didn't see like, okay, over the course of 48 minutes, he was like in control for the whole time and he dominated from start to finish. Like, that's just not what Kyle is. But what Kyle used to always do was steal you like 4, 5, 6 possessions in a game and really push the momentum and just like initiate and be key to runs. That's what Kyle was really, really special at. You notice his energy when he will string together like a bunch of great sequences in a row. That's what Jamal was giving me. I think with Jakobi, it was a little bit closer to that like DeMar style of like, okay, you know what? He's a calm, patient scorer. Even though he's a rookie, he does not shy away. And he knows the confidence that he has in his own scoring ability. I love the fact that his first quarter, he had knocked down 2 threes. First one, Josh Hart goes under against him, but not under so far. It's not like he disrespected him like Ben Simmons style. He just went under. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, okay, this is a rookie, whatever. He probably doesn't even know him that much. He's like, I'm just going to go under. And Jakobi immediately, he's not on the toes on the line or anything. He's like a couple steps behind the line. He's like, okay, you're going to go under on me? No problem. I made the right read. I want to shoot this. He knocks it down. Then a couple plays later, Jakobi, had already made the first shot. So he's got some rhythm to him. Gets the ball, this time it's not a catch and shoot. This time he has the ball in his hands, sizes up Josh Hart, hits him with a quick crossover, And then Jamal, once again, Josh starts to sag back, protecting against the drive, and he's like, okay, I'll just pull up for three again. And he knocked that down. That was just, a really, really nice start for Jacoby. Over the balance of the game, I thought he did a really good job of just making sure that, he was under control, he was confident, he was looking for his offense. For me, it's just really fun watching him attack. And then I think on the flip side, in the second half, for whatever reason, he ended up guarding Brunson quite a bit on several possessions. And I thought he actually did a really good job of moving his hips, using his length, sticking with Brunson on his drives is just really tough. Brunson can stop at any moment. He's physical. He's tough. He also knows how to draw fouls. Like, it's just a nightmare cover, right? And of course, he ultimately gets the best of the Raptors by making those two jumpers at the end. But in those moments when he actually missed, I thought, Jakob Poeltl did a really good job of sticking with Brunson and sticking on his hip and just doing a really good job overall of, just being a two-way player. This is invaluable experience when you talk about a rookie. He's getting the guard. For me, Brunson's the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. So you're getting a chance to do that. And I thought he actually did a pretty decent job. He was also, again, able to, finish calmly at the rim, a couple up fakes and stuff like that too. He had one where he drove, up fake, drew two defenders, and then turned around for a turnaround jumper and knocked that down. Very, very smooth stuff for him. John Mobo wasn't as impressive in terms of the overall game. Had a couple of silly fouls early on. I felt like didn't necessarily need to happen. But also at the same time with Mobo, he has been in the G League for so long, for I think like a couple of weeks here now. Getting back up to speed with the difference in the game, all that kind of stuff. It was also difficult in this one because the Knicks were super physical. That's the reason the Knicks beat the Raptors tonight. I mean, yes, Brunson made those two jumpers at the end, but over the balance of the game, the Knicks getting 17 offensive rebounds and getting key offensive rebounds to Precious Achiuwa and Karl-Anthony Towns, the two of those guys, both in the starting five, because Precious is starting because OG's injured, and OG didn't make the trip. Those guys had 15 offensive rebounds between them, Precious Achiuwa and Karl-Anthony Towns, and did a really good job of using their size. And so I think from Mobo's perspective, he probably needs to do a better job of being more physical and matching the physicality of those guys, because that's what the Raptors ultimately needed. But also at the same time, I thought his versatility, switching, being able to stay in front of guys, he did as well as he reasonably could. And towards the end of the game, did a really good job of just diving to the rim and of course making a couple of plays and being fast in transition. All those things were pretty good. And ultimately, in a night where the Raptors were down significantly at halftime, no one thought the Raptors were even going to make this a game. For them to come back like this was, a really good sign, especially because it was led by the rookies. And of course, it satisfies everybody because, for tanking perspective, it's great that the Raptors were able to, continue to add more losses here because they have been winning quite a bit. But still, nevertheless, you saw a really, really nice glimpse into the future in terms of these young guys. And I'm telling you, I know Jamison Battle's not even playing right now, but even watching his warm-ups and stuff like that, that guy is the best shooter on the Raptors. In terms of who do I trust the most? The classic Max Kellerman. I got the aliens got the laser beam pointed at Earth, and one of the Raptors has to hit an open three. I want I want Jamison Battle. That's what I want, because he's the guy who hasn't even featured in a lot of these games. But I do trust that, especially with the Raptors making some moves, hopefully in the next couple days here before the trade deadline. I would love to open up minutes for him again too, because he's a big part of this too. But yeah, I mean, those young guys really were the big spark on the comeback. A couple of things to pass along before we start to take your questions, and also to talk a couple of trade rumors, because there's a pretty hot rumor out there that Kevin Durant is in discussions to be moved from Phoenix, because the NBA is determined to make the 2025 trade deadline the most memorable trade deadline ever. So number one, Jakob Poeltl left the game with a hip pointer. Didn't necessarily see what happened or what specifically, where he specifically injured himself, but he did not have a really good first half. Was not as active on the glass as you typically expect. And he was not able to return in the second half. So we'll have to watch out for that. The Raptors certainly are playing some pretty big centers coming up. Zach Edey, for example, on Wednesday when the Grizzlies come into town. Not having Yak for that is going to be a little tough, especially considering the last time the Raptors played the Grizzlies, they scored 155. And then of course they're going to go to Philadelphia next week. That's Joel Embiid's back in the lineup. I mean, you would like to have Yak for some of these matchups, but Yak exits the game with a hit pointer. I think the other part for me was seeing guys who are available, who weren't available. Chris Boucher was ill. Didn't even see him in the building. So, we'll see sort of his availability. RJ, he's been ruled out with, he's been put into concussion protocol, which is a really unfortunate thing to happen for him just objectively. But of course, we saw that play towards the end of the Clipper game. With about 2 minutes left, he drives to the rim, finishes the play, but his head, because he doesn't land securely, his head ricochets off the hardwood. And, he was able to finish that game, but, even hearing Darko talk about it in the post game and also the day after in practice, he was kind of joking about it almost. He was like, RJ, your head's so, how hard is your head because you're cracking the hardwood. And they were joking about it, but it's like, it's not a joking matter if the guy goes into concussion protocol the next day. I don't put this on Darko at all. Like it's, I'm sure they did their tests, and maybe symptoms show up later on, but it does look, bad in retrospect when it's like, okay, you're laughing about something that ultimately he ends up getting a concussion for it. So nevertheless, you don't have RJ in this one either. I thought for me, Scotty had a difficult one in this one. Again, the physicality and things like this, like, especially with the Knicks, how much they were attacking the offensive glass, you would have loved to see Scotty sort of like at least chip in. I mean, like you feel like with all the Raps in terms of who's the strongest, who's the biggest Raptor, obviously Jakob is the center and Kelly is another true 7-footer, but realistically it's Scotty who can have these games where he's like a game-changing rebounder or he's a game-changing defender. You didn't see that in this game. Only 3 defensive rebounds on a night where, again, the Knicks were really owning the offensive glass. And then I think in the offensive process, he was certainly going to the turnaround jumper a lot. The Knicks put a lot of size on him, whether that was Precious Achiuwa or even Ariel Hurkporti, who, if you don't watch Knicks games, there's no way you know who that is. But he's number 55 for the Knicks, and he's a pretty good athlete himself, and he's got some size. He's, their backup center, but they put him on Scotty. He's pretty mobile like that. And you just didn't see Scotty go to the rim that much. Occasionally on some closeouts, you saw him go to the rim. But you saw him mostly try to go to the mid-range shot or even the 3, and those just weren't dropping for him. I mean, he went 8 of 23 tonight. He made a couple of mid-range shots early on, which looked nice, but ultimately it felt like, especially the Knicks started even cluing in that, yeah, he just wants to take 2 dribbles, maybe half turn over one shoulder and then turn over the right shoulder or left shoulder and fade away for the mid-range shot. It became almost too predictable in a way. And I know it's like, you're like, okay, what's the happy medium here with Scotty? Because you want him to be aggressive, you want him to be in the mid-range, you want him to sort of like develop a go-to shot, but also at the same time, like, there's got to be like the right balance and mix. A lot of the times, even when he's beating his man, he will still kind of go to the same move. It's almost a little predictable. Like it's almost in a way like Pascal's like spin move in level of like, just that's the move he wants to go to, and there's not enough like creativity in terms of thinking about what the counter could be, given what the defender is in every position. Is just kind of like rehearsed that I want to go to this move. Nevertheless, we know that Scotty's not the most natural scorer, and so especially with the amount of size and physicality that Knicks put out there, and we know Precious actually is a pretty good defender, and Precious obviously knows Scotty from being teammates for 3 years. Yeah, I mean, it was just a difficult one from that perspective. But I mean, ultimately, like, he still gave you 23 points, which led the team in scoring. It's just the efficiency wasn't quite there. IQ continues to work his way back, but he was really invisible in this one. It felt like he just wasn't a factor at all. It also was kind of sad seeing Brunson just go at him like relentlessly, and IQ having nothing to put back against them. I mean, again, like, the Raptors have been really strong defensively of late, but a lot of that is because they've been playing Davion Mitchell and Jamal Shead and Bruce Brown, and those guys are on the point of attack. When IQ comes back, he's got to match that. And yes, he had a couple of stops in the Clipper game towards the end of the second quarter where he's able to force some steals, but like, you would love to see a little bit more fire going against Brunson, for example. You know exactly what Brunson is. These guys, again, were teammates for a long time. And I'm sure they matched up all the time, starters versus bench in practices, but like, you just didn't see that sort of response. You know what I mean? Like it was very clear, like, who was whose backup when it comes to this matchup, even though IQ is now a starter as well. I'll give him the obviously the caveat that he is still coming back from injury, but he just wasn't involved. Like he just was it's not a very memorable game for him. So Raptors lose. I don't think anyone minds. And ultimately I want to get to some of your questions here. So we're going to bring in co-host Alex Wong. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, my brother? How are you?
Yeah, I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling. Raps ethical tanking back on the menu. Would you call this ethical tanking? Do you think Jakob leaving the game at halftime, Chris Boucher being ill? I mean, RJ being concussed. I'm not gonna call that ethical tanking. I saw that man's head bounce off the boards. Um, yeah, but people can't be unhappy. Is the chat unhappy after a game like this?
I mean, I think the chat's a little upset about the loss. There's some
Really?
people that are angry about Darko's challenge again tonight.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sick, sick,
Yeah,
sick.
there
Yeah.
was a lot of people calling for Scotty to stop whining.
Yeah, there was a lot of Scotty
Is
whining in the fourth quarter. There's
is
no
another
doubt. Yeah.
trend, but I think most people are kind of just focused on the trade deadline right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, let's actually get to some of those questions then, because it is time now for the Tangerine fan inbox, and we'll let you know that Tangerine is the official sponsor of the Toronto Raptors, the official sponsor of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada, and of course they're not just fans of basketball; they're fans of fans of basketball. They're fans of fans who have their own nickname for each guy in the starting five. Shout out to the Shed heads out there, or fans who stand 5 inches from the TV all game, or fans who can recreate every player's layup package while sitting from their couch. And if you're hearing this, there's no doubt in your commitment. Fans like you are at the heart of what makes this game great. So this year, for the Raptors' 30th season, Tangerine is turning the spotlight from the court to the stands and celebrating the way Raptor fans support their team, because this is how we fan. To learn more, visit tangerine.ca/basketball. Okay, what's going on, Alex? What are the streets saying right now?
All right, first question from Caleb. If no trades are made by the Raptors, do you expect Darko to keep playing the vets or give the young guys all the run for the rest of the season?
I fully expect the Raptors to, regardless of the trades, give the majority of the minutes to the young players, especially when the calendar turns in March. Their schedule becomes very, very easy towards that stretch. I don't want to see the majority of minutes going to Bruce Brown if he's still here, or Chris Boucher, or Kelly Olynyk. Like, with all due respect to those guys, we know exactly what those guys are. I want to see more of the young guys running together. Tonight, the most exciting part of the game was seeing Jamal Shead lead the comeback, was seeing Jakob Poeltl, be confident on offense and guard the other team's best player, was seeing Gradey Dick knock down big shots. Like, for me, I want to see those young guys, because I actually think the Raptors did an amazing job of the 2024 draft class.
All right. Next up, I know there was some talk today from Jake Fisher that the
Mm,
Raptors' interest in Brandon Ingram is quote unquote serious. So, this is a question that was asked a lot in the chat. Will
okay.
Ingram fit on this team?
Uh, I'm looking more and more into it, because again, it seems like there is more and more noise around the idea that the Raptors are one of those potential landing spots for Brandon Ingram. I don't want to focus as much on sort of what it would take to sort of get him, because I think there's two clear iterations of this potential trade. It could be expiring salaries. It could be like Bruce Brown and Chris Boucher plus a future first round pick to get him, or you can sort of try to build a package around RJ. Um, Again, it's ultimately just like, whatever they want to haggle with. I think with Ingram coming back, the more I'm looking into it, the more I'm like, you know what? Could Ingram, the best case scenario for him coming to Raptors would be, could he be put in a more optimal role than the one that he's been in New Orleans, right? Because on paper, you're like, well, his true shooting percentage isn't that high. He works a lot in the mid range. Scotty wants to work a lot in the mid range. He doesn't play that well off the ball. He primarily needs the ball in his hands. The Raptors have a really, they emphasize ball movement. Nobody really has the ball in their hands that much. Does this work necessarily? But the more I think about it, I'm like, well, why can't you pull a better effort or a better level out of Brandon Ingram? The same way the Raptors pulled a better effort and level out of RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett coming from the Knicks was, not highly, sought after. If anything, his reputation was poor, right? Don't forget the talk at that time was, he was a toxic asset, quote unquote. Of course, when you take a player from one context, put him in another, you are able to bring a different thing out of him. And I think with Ingram, what you would like to see is, number one, just being better at playing off the ball. I mean, the Raptors play a lot through their bigs. They play a lot of, guys getting off the ball and cutting and screening and moving off of each other. Everybody who comes to Toronto in the last 2 years has done that. And if they haven't done that, they've been moved. Um, So I think that there is that aspect of the game. I think there's the other aspect of can you get his 3-point volume higher? Because you can go back to last season. There was a game when the Raptors were in New Orleans and they completely destroyed us. And Ingram had like 10 threes in that game. He had like 40. Look at some of the threes that he was making in that one. Like it was, I mean, all 30 Pelicans fans in the arena that night were getting their full money's worth in terms of entertainment. So can you make him go from a guy who takes like 3 threes a game, 4 threes a game to like, I mean, based on his ability, 8, 9 threes a game. And then the other thing too is just like he has primarily been a guy who creates his own offense. So your efficiency is going to be totally different if you're going to be a guy who gets set up versus a guy who actually is going to be finishing, but with the assists from other players. And I actually looked into his numbers because my image of like a Brandon Ingram play is he runs a pick and roll, gets in the mid range, and then shoots a mid range jumper, and it's almost entirely self created. So I actually looked at sort of what percentage of his field goal shots are attempted. His 2-point shots the last few years, in terms of what percentage of his 2-pointers are assisted, 37%, 40%, 37%, 41%, 40%. I feel like if you can get that number a lot higher, like especially again being able to play off ball but playing in Darko's system in terms of how they move the ball, if you can get that to like 60%, kind of like how RJ had a similar thing where in New York his 2-pointers were assisted maybe at like a 35 to 40% rate. He comes to Toronto last season, it was like 60% assisted. That's naturally gonna bolster your efficiency. And then I think more than anything else, the one skill set that Brandon Ingram brings to the Raptors don't quite have is that late game shot creation. Yes, Scotty Barnes has an ability to impact the game in the fourth quarter. I'm not trying to deny that. But, the same way that Jalen Brunson was able to knock down those 2 pull-up jumpers and there was nothing the defense could do, that's the part where with Ingram, he has that quality potentially to bring to the Raptors. So, like, I don't know. I guess I'm just like talking myself more into it, or maybe I'm bracing more for the idea that he could potentially come. But I don't know. I mean, you've had a couple days with the Ingram thing. I think our initial reaction was kind of like, this doesn't really fit that well. But I don't know. If there's interest, then there must be a reason for that interest.
Yeah, I feel like if they're going to make the move, then that's kind of an indictment on how they feel about RJ's long-term future too, because Ingram's going to be heading to free agency in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trading him, you have the intention of re-upping him, and then you're looking at a situation where I guess your top 3 salaries will be Scotty, Brandon Ingram, and Quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it just depends on how you feel about bringing Ingram in for the long term as a fit versus RJ.
Yeah, I mean, again, like before they joined the Raptors, and before obviously RJ has done what he's done with the Raptors, like who was the better player, Ingram or RJ? I think Ingram was a better player.
Yeah, I think Ingram's shine just kind of come off a little bit because of the injuries.
For sure, the injuries is a big factor
right?
here.
So, but like, I don't think. Yeah, I think if you sit with it and think about it a little bit more, like you can talk yourself into Ingram, and it does seem like you're leaning a bit more into potentially being open to that idea.
I'm just trying to see what how this sort of could be more. I guess I'm taking a more optimistic view with it because it's not like Ingram's not a talented player. Like he certainly is very talented. Like if you watch his highlight reel, it's very easy to fall in love with Ingram. It's just about sort of contextualizing that and sort of like, I mean, the age, the contract, I mean, all that kind of stuff. Like, I think for the Raptors more than anything else, they know they're not going to sign anybody in free agency, so you're going to have to trade for guys. It's a very different situation, but it almost reminds me of like that year they traded for Serge Ibaka. Like Serge was going to free agency that summer, but they traded for Serge knowing that they were going to re-sign him and pretty much with a number almost in mind. So it's like pre-agency instead of free agency, This utter woke nonsense, man. Pre-agency is utter woke
I was gonna
nonsense.
say, man. I'm like, what are you talking about right now, man?
No, but I'm just saying, Masai said free agency is dead. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. Maybe for the Raptors. I think, today, I don't know if Mr. Nico Harrison made another trade, sending Quentin Grimes and a second rounder to Philadelphia in exchange for Caleb Martin. It seems that the Mavericks are dead set on building a team around Kyrie and AD's timeline, just 29 to 31-year-olds. And there was another question here because Nico is so down bad, whether we would have a chance to get Derek Lively, a young center to grow at the core. Man, I would love to get Derek Lively. And you know what? It's probably worth a call to Nico right now because he's acting crazy.
Well, I mean, what's the latest rumor? Like, I think I was walking to the arena today, and I think I might have saw like the Mavs' secret plan is they want to get KD as well.
Yeah, I mean, so we can get into because those are really all the questions that we really had from like the chat. Like,
Oh, people didn't want to talk about Raps Knicks?
we can get into the
Okay.
NBA trade deadline.
Let's
here.
do it. Let's do it.
So the main talk right now is that it was reported earlier today that the Suns are listening to offers for Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant is aware of this. And then earlier tonight, the Suns listed KD as doubtful for tomorrow's game against OKC. And now there's several teams that are being linked to Kevin Durant. The top team out there is a reunion with the Golden State Warriors.
Yep.
With,
okay. I like it.
Yeah, the Warriors have been linked to every single player the last 48 hours. It seems like they've just been making calls on everybody. Like you can go from everyone from Giannis to any player that's available. But apparently the reporting is that the Warriors are willing to make everybody except Steph available, which includes Draymond Green. And the Athletic is reporting that Phoenix does have interest in Draymond.
I guess Matt Ishbia went to like Michigan State, right?
Sure. You know what? Whatever these owners and general managers want,
bro.
At this point,
the Luka trade broke the NBA. I feel like now you can talk yourself into anything, man.
So Golden State has been talked about. Houston is a natural destination that everyone's mentioning, but Mark Stein is reporting that the Rockets don't seem interested in moving from their plan of letting this young core go through the rest of this season.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's Kevin Durant, man.
Well, I mean, first off, how can Dallas even get Kevin Durant?
Yeah, so Dallas is the third team, reported by The Athletic, that Nico Harrison has dreams of adding KD to Anthony Davis and Kyrie.
How does that even work financially?
So there is a trade offer here that would make sense. So this would be this would be a 4-team trade.
Oh, so, that doesn't mean the Raptors get to facilitate?
Shouts to Sam Quinn of CBS Sports for this. So the Mavericks would get Kevin Durant. They would get Jonas Valanciunas from the Wizards.
Okay.
And Bobby Klintman, I believe, from the Pistons.
Bobby Klintman.
Yes. So that's
the Cairns type hands.
So KD goes to Dallas. The Phoenix Suns would get Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford.
Not the Gaffer.
Derek Lively, 2029 first rounder that they just got from the Lakers, a 2031 pick from Dallas, first rounder, and a 2025 second rounder via the Raptors. I don't know who owns that one. Somebody in this trade owns that one.
So what? When did we give that up? Okay, all right.
The Wizards would get Dwight Powell and Omax Prosper. So the Wizards would just be getting rid of JV in this case.
Okay.
And then the Pistons get Najee Marshall and a second rounder. So this would work under the trade machine. The Mavs would be giving up both of their centers in Gafford, Lively. They give up PJ Washington. They give up a bunch of draft assets. They give up Clay. And then they're left with Kyrie, Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant. And I say this by saying that this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen.
This is not going to happen, but do they even have 10 players left on the roster after a trade like this? Like their bench is going to be Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas like, finally, I could be back in the league.
Not Isaiah Thomas on a tryout.
He's like, what's up, guys? I'm back.
Oh, man. I loved Isaiah Thomas's run in Boston, but I feel so bad every time I see him having like a G League tryout.
He's always like, yo, I'm available.
Just give this man a job at this point. Anyways, I'm ruling out Dallas if you're okay with that.
By the way,
think Dallas is getting into this.
Is Nico Harrison's whole strategy like people that he signed or worked with at Nike with their signature shoes? Because isn't that the Kyrie, AD, like Kevin Durant? Isn't the whole connection just Nike?
This is entirely possible, but I don't know. Nico's crashing out. He got a lot of. I mean, people weren't happy today that he traded a younger player in Quentin Grimes, equally productive, for Caleb Martin, and had to throw in a second rounder. So, but yeah, right now the talk is some kind of 3 or 4-way deal that could send Jimmy Butler to Phoenix, Kevin Durant to the Warriors, And in this scenario, I think Andrew Wiggins would get sent to Miami, and then you would have to work out the draft compensation.
I
mean, forget about all the trade scenarios. Like, just the idea of KD going back to Golden State is pretty appealing.
KD going back to Golden State would be pretty fun. I'm all for the nostalgia factor of that. That's probably my favorite spot. I actually want to see Draymond stay on Golden State for that case. Like, what's the point? If you're gonna trade for KD, you should just keep on.
I don't know if KD wants Draymond there.
Oh, you know what?
It didn't really end so well the last time.
I mean, you think they made up by then? You know, they won a gold medal together since then. You know?
But the Warriors are clearly trying to make a huge push right now in the last like 48 hours to really get a superstar next to Steph. And this was like 2 weeks ago. They were talking about how they were going to be patient. They didn't want to mortgage the future. So it does feel like, I don't know whether it's the Luka trade, or whether the Warriors are where they are in the standings. They seem super motivated right now.
Yeah, I mean, this trade deadline is absolutely nuts. I mean, I hope for the Warriors' sake, I hope for Steph's case that like there's still somebody for him to play with. You know, it does suck to see these old guys just like say, you know what I mean, like Kobe's last couple of years and whatever, he signed that big deal or whatever. But like, I don't blame him. Like, whatever, take your money. But if anyone deserves the money, it's Kobe. But like Kobe at the end with like Jordan Clarkson and you know, Julius Randle and Brandon Ingram, like it was just like what is this?
Not Jeremy Lin.
Actually, Ingram might not have been there yet, but yeah, Jeremy Lin, you know what I mean? Like Nick, you know, Swaggy P, it was like Jordan Hill, it was just like it was crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Warriors roster, it's not that far away. There's a lot of like there's just random guys that spawn on the Warriors and they're like key rotation pieces. Like Quinton Post, who nobody has heard of, unless you're like really into college basketball or Dutch basketball, is now like a pretty big piece of the rotation lately. Guy Santos, you know what I mean? Guys like this, it's like Trace Jackson Davis. Like it's just, what is going on with that team? So they're begging for a trade. And if they get KD, I mean, the thing is, if they get KD, do you think they're even guaranteed a top 6 spot?
Yeah, I mean, I respect KD like that. I feel like Steph and KD, and then you got to keep your third eye open. LeBron.
Oh my God.
exercises that player option this offseason and reunites the Olympic trio.
Okay, now we're talking. Yeah. I'm 100% on this. Yeah.
I think that's what the NBA needs. This would be like D-Generation X, like, you know, NWO type in wrestling. I think from just a basketball fan perspective, it would be super cool to see KD go back to Golden State at a time where they really need him this time. I mean, not that they didn't need him last time, but last time it completed this like super team that everybody thought was unfair. Yeah. Whereas this time, like the Warriors really need an injection of talent, and getting KD there would be super cool. I mean, I still want KD to end up in OKC, but it seems like Sam Presti's more focused on just like stacking like 2029 second rounders right now.
I mean, this guy's a sicko, but I mean, he has built a really good team, but I do see that team like crumbling in the highest of levels just based on size that teams can throw at them. I mean, they do have I mean, come on now. They also do have Isaiah Hartenstein. Actually, never mind. So
stop talking about Isaiah Hartenstein like he's a top 15 player, man.
He's a top 15 OKC Thunder.
This year's DeAnthony Melton. Memphis has the assets to make a trade happen too. So I think just from a basketball perspective, Memphis would be really interesting. But right now it looks like all the noise is around the Warriors making a serious push.
So once again, there's another star who has jumped ahead of Jimmy Butler in terms of trade deadline intrigue.
Well, Jimmy, from reporting from Brian Windhorst today, Brian Windhorst says that his only goal is to go to Phoenix. Like Jimmy has rejected, I believe, a potential extension with Golden State. He's rejected any trade offers that might send him to Memphis. But if KD's on the move, I think this changes things for Jimmy, because I don't think he's gonna get to pick. Well, he doesn't get to pick. Like he can send him anywhere.
Hold on, let's walk through this for a sec, because I feel like with the Jimmy thing, it's like you know when you're playing poker and you're like into a hand, you bet before the flop. You got a couple of calls, then you got to continue the bet. You got to make a couple continuation bets on the flop, on the turn, and then it's not until the river where you really got to choose. Like, okay, I'm gonna bet one more time and really try to push everyone else out, or you're gonna just you're gonna fold. In this situation, I feel like Jimmy with the Suns, he's almost like he's like representing an ace. He's like everything he's doing is to push the idea that he only wants one thing. But like, I do think when it comes to the trade deadline, which will be the river in this instance, if he doesn't actually have the ace, and he's clearly not going back to Miami, like he's got to settle for something. You know what I mean? I suppose folding would be like going to the Grizzlies, or agreeing to go to the Bucks, or agreeing to go to somewhere else. You know what I mean? Because like he's burned the bridge so hard with Miami that like he's pot committed. Like you can't just, you know what I mean? You can't just go back to Miami after this.
Well, he's misplayed. I think he's misplayed this whole situation.
Right.
Because when he initially forced the trade, like he was the number one player on the market. And now things have like drastically shifted.
Sure.
Where people aren't even thinking about him. Couple of other things. There's been a lot of talk about the Bucks potentially looking at Kyle Kuzma. And in exchange they would have to trade Chris Middleton. Does that move you at all?
Once again, I'm here to tell you that Kyle Kuzma is the top 5 most unserious player in the NBA. Okay. And
former NBA champion, man. Come on.
That's okay. That's he's not a top 5 former NBA champion for me in the NBA. I think with Kuzma, like he literally needs to get the bozo gene out of him if he goes to play in the Bucks, because there is no room on that team for him to do any of the activities that he's been doing in Washington. Like, does he have the talent on paper to be a good player? I'm sure he does, but he like it will take a while. Like he needs a basketball detox after what he's been doing in Washington. Like seriously, I mean, I guess no one's watching a Wizards game. It also says a lot about Chris Middleton and his health that they're like, we'd actually, we'd rather get Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, so
I know it has like other like financial implications.
Sure.
Gets them under the second apron, and they can sort of start moving more salaries or whatever. But more than anything else, is like, he's so broken that we'd rather go with Kyle Kuzma. Like, it's yeah. I don't know, man.
From the
is
Raptors,
there anything Milwaukee can do to be a contender? Like, or like it's more of a contender? Because
I don't think they can move too much. I mean, the pieces that they would move are like Bobby Portis, the landlord. Pat Connaughton, and Chris Middleton. So,
I feel like they're definitely dumping Pat Connaughton regardless. To some open salary somewhere else. But I don't know, man. The Bucks, the Bucks are also at the river right now with Giannis and Dame, and Giannis and Dame is like ace queen, and they probably paired their ace in this hand, but it does feel like somebody out there has trips or a flush.
Yeah,
and they're just kind of like, well. This is a great idea to go into this, but it's just not that great. And Kuzma is like a 4 of diamonds. Like,
oh brother,
Kuzma wasn't helping nothing, man.
Oh brother, yeah. Michael Grange for the Raptors side reported that the Lakers contacted the Raptors about Jakob Poeltl. I'm not sure if you saw Rob Pelinka and Luka's presser earlier today. Pelinka was talking about how the big man market out there is really dry right now, and the Raptors. You see Pelinka pull up in that leather jacket, probably like 7 G's. He's like, thank you to God, thank you to Nico Harrison for being a clown. Meanwhile, he's like, oh, in these trades, it takes 2 to tango, me and an idiot. And I just want to thank Nico Harrison. And meanwhile, Luka's just sitting there playing with his like little $80,000 Rolex, just like all awkward and stuff.
The funniest thing is, for a fact that he's like, this is gonna be a historic photo. Like, this is a historic press conference. This ain't just your regular press conference that you roll into. You know what I mean, like this photo of me with Luka for the first time it's gonna be shared a lot. So let me get my best fit off. That was Pelinka in that one, man.
I respect anybody who's rocking a leather jacket that you can roll up the sleeves of. That is a next level steez when you're rocking. I know he was leather.
Hot as hell under there, man.
Also, they introduced Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. So Luka wears 77, right. Sure. Markieff wears 88. Kleber should have just worn 99. Would have been a great photo.
Pocket 7s and pocket 8s.
Maxi Kleber always ruining everything, man.
Yeah, you got to split those 8s with Markieff, man.
Anyways, I think with Jakob, it does feel like the Raptors are kind of believe internally that they're gonna, flip the switch a little bit here and start winning, or at least try to win. the next couple of years, I don't think it makes sense to flip Jakob based on what they're thinking for their team right now.
So I feel like what the Lakers could offer is probably like Rui Hachimura, which I would say probably is average salary at this point in terms of like it's not great money, but it's also not like debilitating money. Yeah, you take back Rui Hachimura and they're what 2031 first or something like that.
No, that's I'm not entertaining that at all.
Yeah.
If you're trying to win, you need a center, and Jakob's there. You trade Jakob, you're gonna have to look for another Jakob again.
You're gonna go right back to looking for a Jakob. At the same time, it depends on like if the Raptors right now feel like they're good enough where next year they're gonna be back. Because like for example, if they're gonna trade for Ingram, that means that they feel like next year they're gonna be back. Because you don't trade for Ingram with the idea that you're gonna be bad again. Then there's no need to trade Jakob for a 2031 first. You know, like it could be very valuable. Again, it's a gamble, but that's a trade that like a Utah Jazz will make. Like they're like we're fully committed to be bottoming out for like the next 5 years, type of thing.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the Raptors might think about if they're moving this way, they might think about putting that first rounder on the table, man, in the summer.
I mean, not our first rounder, but
you don't think so?
No, we're not moving our first. Well, I mean, it depends on where the lottery comes out.
What if they landed like the 7th pick or something? Then you could.
You don't want to come on Malawak, man. Come on, man. That guy just puked all over the court the other day. Is he okay?
You want that person or you want Zion Williamson?
I don't know if we can get Zion with the 7th pick. If we can get Zion with the 7th pick, then by all means, go ahead. But like,
listen, all these GMs are crashing out, man.
Yeah,
anything is possible right now.
Yeah,
but the big news is Kevin Durant.
I feel like with the Lakers, I think they. I mean, if I were the Lakers, I'd be calling for Clint Capella.
Sure. Yeah, Clint Capella, Robert Williams, and Nick Claxton are the three centers.
Get one of the lob centers. Yeah, preferably. I think Clint's probably the healthiest of the three, and Clint has the most size in terms of like not just in terms of the athleticism and the springiness, but like the bulk to go. I mean, like again, you're gonna see probably Jokic. By the way, if they face the Nuggets, like, are we sure they're gonna beat the Nuggets, even with Luka and LeBron? Because like the Nuggets specialize in killing the Lakers, man.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this Lakers team for this season. Like, if they're not upgrading this week, like that roster is not looking that great.
Well, they got Vando.
Yeah, so
they got Imanishi. They got
Vandos. Are we overthinking this? Like, they got LeBron and Luka. Like,
no, they got LeBron and Luka, but they need defenders around them, and certainly they need some size in the middle. So I don't know. They got 7. They got Gabe Vincent.
They still got 7 there.
They got. Yeah. It feels like they got all wings actually on the roster. Like they, you know what I mean. So they're certainly going to go and get a big. I mean, there's lots of bigs out there. So I mean, by the way, I know they've been rumored with JV all season. Now they got Luka, they cannot get JV, man.
Right. I don't think they need
JV's
like a
just
more.
Too slow.
They need an athletic like lob threat. They need Derek Lively.
Oh man,
I'm surprised Pelinka didn't swindle that too.
Does Derek Lively wear Nikes? There's a real chance.
Oh my god,
that Nico Harrison will put him untouchable.
But yeah, those are really the trade rumors that are floating around right now. Kevin Durant's the main one.
If I had to, today is Tuesday, so there's still 2 more days before we go live at NBA Courtside for our live trade deadline show from NBA Courtside Restaurant. Where you can catch us watching and following along at NBA Courtside from 2 p.m. until after the deadline here. There you go. All the details there. It's free to enter, by the way. No one has to get tickets or anything. Just show up at NBA Courtside. It's great restaurant. But yeah, I mean, if I had to press you now, Alex, do you think Kevin Durant gets moved before Thursday's deadline?
I'm gonna say no, just because I feel like this. These type of trades take a bit to kind of come together. I don't see all this coming together in the next 48 hours. Like he just was made available, and this is something that Phoenix can explore in the summer if they want, right?
The craziest thing with the KD thing is like it feels like Phoenix wants to buy with Jimmy, but if they can't get Jimmy and they're not going to buy, they're just going to sell instead.
Yeah, I don't really know what Phoenix is doing.
Is Bradley Beal just like?
Bradley Beal is super happy to be living in Phoenix, Arizona.
This guy's like, I don't care. No matter what happens, I'm never moving. I'm never. You bring me off the bench, I won't be moving. I just move my family. Like I just refuse to
I will
just to
bet. I
wave
will
this
bet
thing.
any money that Bradley Beal will last longer than Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in Phoenix. Yeah.
Wow.
I think he will be the last one there.
By the way, the fact that there's only 2 players in the NBA with full no trade clauses,
Is
and
LeBron the other one?
it's LeBron and
Yeah.
Bradley Beal. Like, what were the Wizards thinking? Who were they? Who were they bargaining against?
What were
Like,
you?
Mark
What were you
Bartlestein
doing?
might be the greatest.
Ernie Grunfeld. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think Mark Bartlestein legit might be the greatest agent of all time with that one, man. It just it doesn't make sense.
Out of 10 right now, what's this trade deadline to you right now in terms of the trade deadline excitement?
It's already a 10 based on the
Wow,
whole
a
Luka
10?
thing. No, it's already a Luka, like, just based on the Luka trade alone, it's already a 10 out of 10 trade deadline. Like, we're gonna be looking back to this trade deadline a lot.
Sure.
If KD gets moved, like, it's for me the greatest trade deadline ever. Like, usually you don't see this much action in the trade deadline. But if free agency is indeed dead, then all these trades do have to be made in season, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, we're seeing a version of that, right? Jimmy doesn't want to go into free agency. He wants to get traded to his preferred destination right now. You know, that was supposed to be the headline item. No one even cares about that anymore. Fox goes and Wemby gets a sidekick. No one cares about that. You know.
Oh, did you see today Wemby was talking about All-Star Weekend and he was like, "I'm not there to make friends. It's a work trip." I'm tired of
Speak
Wemby.
for yourself, bro.
I'm
trying to go to All-Star Weekend and make some friends, baby.
I'm tired of Wemby. I need Wemby to say something controversial, man. Stop saying the right things all the time.
Yeah. Well, Wemby, I need you to. Well, actually, I don't even know what's something problematic that he can do that, like, isn't gonna get him canceled.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Like,
to think a little bit more about that.
He needs to walk a tight line there.
Yeah. All right, let's take this break and then we'll come back. We'll give away some awards. And stuff.
Let's shift our focus back to Knicks Raptors after this quick break. It's the 30th anniversary, and our friends at Axe are joining the celebration with a limited edition collection that's as original as the Toronto Raptors themselves.
The collection includes 3 essentials to keeping you fresh. The body spray features 48-hour high-definition scent, blending sea mist and grapefruit to keep you unstoppable throughout the day. The deodorant stick is perfect for staying confident, with a scent that keeps you smelling irresistible while showing your Raptors pride. And the body wash delivers a luxurious lather that leaves you feeling clean and smelling astonishing after every shower.
For over 40 years, Axe has drawn on body spray research and the expertise of the world's leading perfumers to craft quality fragrances and help people feel confident in their own skin.
Find the Axe Toronto Raptors 30th Anniversary Limited Edition collection at all major retailers, Walmart, Shoppers Drug Mart, and Real Canadian Superstore. But act fast because it's only available for a limited time.
Celebrate the milestone with Axe and the Toronto Raptors. Channel the freshness, energy, and unstoppable spirit of our local champions, because smelling great is always a slam dunk. Okay, it is time now for the freshest play of the game presented by Axe. And one of the standouts from this game for me was Jakob Poeltl, and he made a really, really nice move. This was in the third quarter. Scotty swings it over to Walter on the wing. He's got Jalen Brunson guarding him. And Brunson probably thinks this is a rookie. It's probably the easiest assignment. I could take a little bit of a break. Walter says, nah, I'm going to go right at him. And he's going to drive him all the way to the edge of the paint. He draws help coming over as well. I believe it was Karl-Anthony Towns. Jacoby jumps into a stop, throws a very believable up fake, lifts both Brunson and Cat out of their fakes them out of their boots, I suppose. You know, those Kobe Grinches that Jalen Brunson's been wearing for the last 10 years, it feels like. You know, just faked them right out. And then he faded away and hit a beautiful turnaround jumper as the Raptors cut the lead to 15 or something. It was a fresh play, I promise, man. It was really nice, okay? Jakob Poeltl, really nice.
Nice play, man. Smooth.
Nice play. That was
smooth, fresh.
It was fresh. It was smooth. It was everything you want out of what Jacoby did tonight. But honestly, you could have picked a bunch of Shead plays as well. Like, honestly, my notes are just Shead over and over and over again. Like, this was really nice. And again, like, the Raptors lose. Like, you know, that's not going to be enough to flip a lot of these games. Again, like, we'll see. You know, I do wonder, have we seen the last of Chris Boucher? You know, obviously the trade deadline is just in 2 days here. They do play once again tomorrow against Memphis. So we'll see his availability for that game. Is this the last of Bruce Brown in Toronto? Kelly Olynyk certainly played nice recently as well. We'll see him. Davion Mitchell was a DNP tonight, even though he's healthy. I think. I don't think Darko actually talked about him in the injury report. So, yeah, I think he was a DNP healthy scratch, which is, a little surprising when you have Jalen Brunson coming into town. But, again, we know what the direction of the Raptors is. So, this might be your last chance to see some of these guys tomorrow when the Raps play the Grizzlies. But, anyway, that's enough about Raps Knicks. Let's get to the 3 stars and wrap it up, because obviously everyone's attention is on the NBA trade deadline in a couple of days. Your 3 stars from tonight's performance. First star is Jamal Shead, career high 16 points, 9 assists off the bench, was the single most impactful player in the second half, and nearly flipped the game on the Knicks, who were very comfortable and they were bullying the Raptors until Jamal Shead started standing up to them. Your second star, get that to Jakob Poeltl, 13 points, 2 steals. I thought he played some good on-ball defense against Jalen Brunson as well, but knocked down some threes, was confident, efficient in his game. And then third star, I'll give it to Gradey Dick, 14 points for Gradey. Nice to see him knock down some shots. Nice to see him go strong to the basket. Got to the foul line a couple times as well. I thought he was really trying his best to stand in there defensively, trying to sacrifice his body to take charges. He did a good job tonight with Gradey. So, those are your 3 stars. Your Gerald Henderson Award winner for who randomly torched the Raps. Look, I want to give it to Freshest because he did have a really good game here, 17 points and 8 rebounds, including 6 offensive, which was the main contribution that Freshest created there. But for me, it's got to go to Ariel Hurkporti. Yeah, sorry, man. Ariel Hurkporti. Yeah, it's a weird mouthfeel with the name, but he did an amazing job defensively tonight. His energy was really strong. He's typically their, backup big. We'll see if he still gets minutes when Mitchell Robinson comes back. By the way, Mitchell Robinson is another trade candidate. We'll see if he actually ends up even playing for the Knicks again or if he gets flipped here. But Ariel did a really good job, and a lot of possessions where he was guarding Scotty, and Scotty couldn't really do anything with him. So it's not great when you see your franchise player get shut down by Ariel, but I'll give the credit to him for some good defense. So That's the game tonight, buddy. Why are you wearing a Rangers jersey, man?
This is our former coworker, Nick Kiprios.
Oh, this is a Kipper?
Rangers jersey.
What's the number, bro? Show us the number.
Good question. It's 19.
Oh, a Jakob?
I guess so. Final message here from Andrew X. Ni hao from Beijing.
What's that X stand for, man? Xiang?
All right, so we're not going live tomorrow during the day for trade deadline, right? Unless something happens.
I mean, unless Kevin Durant gets traded during the day, then we'll try our very best to sort of pivot towards sort of an emergency live reaction podcast situation. But we will be going live after the game.
Yes.
Raptors will play the Memphis Grizzlies. I may or may not be in the back of Hongqing as this thing happens. So stay tuned to see where I will be tomorrow for the React Pod. But Raps will play the Grizzlies tomorrow. I mean, I'm expecting a great honor for Zach Edey for his first time playing in Toronto since getting drafted. A lot of Asians going to be in the crowd. Shout out to CCYA organizing a whole group trip to go see the number 1 Asian in the league right now, at least from Toronto. Zach Edey.
And we'll be at NBA Courtside Restaurant on Thursday.
Yeah, throw that graphic up again.
So make sure you come through on Thursday.
Yeah.
We're going to be going live around 2, but we'll be there hanging out for the entire afternoon. So make sure you come and check that out.
The graphic with the ni hao from Beijing is chef's kiss, man.
Whoops.
No.
My bad.
It looks like...
Come hang out, man. Toss your fake trades at us. We'll be reacting to all the moves. And you know how the Raptors move. All the deals or non-deals are going to come in at 3 p.m. So.
Hey, if you want to see if the Raptors facilitated a trade, Thursday is the best time to do it. So come react to the craziness that is the 2020-25 NBA draft class or NBA trade deadline with us all together. I'm very tired. I'm going to go get some sleep because I'm not even speaking properly. For myself, Will Lou, for my co-host, Alex Wong. This has been the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway, and we will catch you tomorrow.
What's up, Laker fans? I'm in LA. Excited to meet you all.